Wait a minute. We have pulled an amateur broadcasting situation. I was starting to speak with my mic on mute, but being the broadcast professional, I can read, and I saw the warning that said my mic was muted. And here I am today speaking to you live. It's another bright and sunny Tuesday. If you're on the West Coast, if you're on the East Coast, it's quite chilly and dark and gloomy, a stereotypical November day on the East Coast. I want to give everybody a heads up. Greg and I interviewed one of our favorite guests yesterday afternoon, uh, Dr. Joseph Farrell. So, very, very interesting. 3 whopping hours of content. And that will be posted on Thursday for interview night. It will not be me solo. It will be Greg, me, and Dr. Joseph Farrell. So do pay attention. Look out for that. That's going to be posted everywhere that you listen to and consume media. As always, Dr. Joseph Farrell, you can ask him a question, and he's just off to the races. He can just talk about everything, anyone, anything, and that's what makes him such a fantastic guest. So definitely be on the lookout for that because you will not be disappointed. So as you know, we're going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, but also, if you pay attention to me often enough, I always eat up those quarter hours. And the Jeffrey Epstein stuff will come later on in my show. So you could tune out, check back in 13 minutes, 15 minutes or so, and that's when I'll get to the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. But I want to get to an opportunity to prove myself right yet again, as I usually am wont to do. I made the argument that there is only enough power in the energy grid, barring 0 point energy, which we know exists, in the grid for either mankind or artificial intelligence. Nobody wants to believe me. Everybody just throws that to the side. And the major problem with all of this is that you ignoring me will be caught on the back foot. Here's the problem. Being that there's only enough energy in the grid for either human beings in the way we currently run our lives or artificial intelligence, then you've run into a problem. But you've also run into how the game is going to be played. And that is the following. Knowing that there's only enough energy for either or, they didn't choose us. They did not choose the human being. They, being the elites, have chosen artificial intelligence. So therefore, we need to find out, I'm speaking for the elites, some kind of way to guilt people into stopping their energy consumption in the current manner. Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll come up with a climate scam. We'll come up with carbon credits. We'll come up with energy usage, right? Where we will put out in front of you the percentage of your daily carbon consumption or average daily carbon consumption. And we'll put this on food wrappers. Yes, they started to do that in certain places. And on we can go. You got electric vehicles. You've got the argument for 15-minute cities boiled into all of this. And so what do we see here? We see the idea that the elites don't want us anymore. They believe that artificial intelligence and AI and robots, they're going to be the future, especially if you subscribe to the notion that there is some monumental, calamitous, species-threatening event in the near future. Hello, pole shift. But here we go. I'm going to now prove myself right. Sit down, take your socks off if you have them on, because I'm about to blow them off. Wall Street Journal is reporting that Constellation Energy has secured a $1 billion federal loan from the Energy Department's Loan Programs Office to restart the Unit 1 reactor at the 3 Mile Island Reactor Plant in Pennsylvania. Recently renamed the Crane Clean Energy Center, Constellation has said it would pay about $1.6 billion to restart the plant in 2027. So Now, this sounds fantastic. You had all of the conservative talking heads and the influencers on X come out and say, my goodness, we are winning yet again. Donald Trump has done it. Energy is going to be skyrocketing in the Americas, and the costs for the average consumer, they're going to plummet. It's going to come down. Everybody is going to have a good Thanksgiving and a thankful Thanksgiving. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Do you know why they are firing up this plant? Well, Energy Right said the 3 Mile Island will add about 800 megawatts of power generation. Wright added that Constellation's restart of a nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania will provide affordable, reliable, and secure energy to Americans. It will also help ensure America has the energy it needs to grow its domestic manufacturing base and win the AI race. Right there, stop the presses. That means that people like you and me that happen to live in Pennsylvania are absolutely and unalienably effed. That's what that means. When they come out and they say, "Oh, we're going to win the AI rate," that means it's not going to be used for us. In fact, the firing up of this nuclear power plant is going to be used for Microsoft data centers. Yes, that's right. Not for cooking up anything, not for leaving the lights on when somebody is trying to come home late at night drunken. It is not going to be used for your dishwasher or your laundry. It's going to be used for Microsoft, and they're going to try to foot you with the bill for doing so because Microsoft is going to use that data center to fire up its artificial intelligence. So once again, Chris Michaels is correct. It is a choice between average Americans and artificial intelligence, and these dumb bastards didn't choose us. They chose artificial intelligence. How come nobody, when we're supposedly in this energy crunching climate crisis, will consider firing up a nuclear power plant for the average American? But when it comes to Bill Gates, Google, Sam Altman, Amazon, oh my God, we've got all of these nuclear power plants just collecting dust. We don't want to end up like Germany and just destroy them. So we might as well fire them back up for artificial intelligence and the hyper elites in America. I'm sorry, but the Trump administration at this point is an utterly effing embarrassment. I almost actually said that real F word. I almost dropped the F bomb just then. I would have done it too if I wasn't on YouTube right now. But enough is enough. I said I would give Donald Trump 1 year. I actually said this. I actually said I'd give Donald Trump until October to right his ship. But it hasn't happened. We're still in the forever wars. We're still giving piles of money to places like the Ukraine and Israel. Now we're going to go after Venezuela. Now we're going to go after what country are we talking about in Africa? I forget the name of it. I don't have it in front of me. But it's nonsense. They're saying, "Oh my goodness, Christians have been killed and maimed." Yeah, okay. Well, what about Gaza? Because there are Christians in Gaza too. How come nobody's talking about that either? So I'm just sick of it. I'm sick and tired. So we need new leadership here, or at least Donald Trump needs new advisors, because I'd really prefer Donald Trump 1.0 than this cuckold that we have in office right now. Michelle Obama is coming out on an interview saying, no, 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 nay, nay, nay. I will not be running for office. She was in a YouTube interview with actress Tracy Ellis Ross. And of course, Tracy isn't spelled in the way that you and I would normally think it's spelled, because somebody has to be avant-garde and an artist. Tracy spelled Tracee. Yes, look how crazy you happen to be, cutting edge. So Michelle Obama said that Americans aren't ready for a woman, and that's why she wouldn't run. Well, my argument would be That's nonsense. You can run all day long, sweetheart. I mean, you were lying through your jockstrap the other day when you said, oh my goodness, there were black people killed by white people because of the clothes that they were wearing. Yes, she actually said this. She said this on an interview. And I did a Grok search for it. I asked Grok over on X. Is this true? Can you give me one news story where an African American was killed for wearing the wrong kinds of clothes by white people? And of course, Grok came back and said, absolutely not. There's not one news story, there's not one case where a black person was killed for wearing clothes. Okay. So it's not cultural appropriation. I'm sorry. That is a liberal playing card. And Michelle Obama just lying through her teeth everywhere. She said on this show, as we saw in this past election, sadly, we ain't ready. How about this, Michelle, Big Mike? How about we just start speaking proper English? How about we just learn the language well enough to the point where we don't use the word ain't if you are being considered to run for the highest office in the land? People like me, I can use the word ain't. Nobody cares. But someone like you that is demanding respect, right? Then you probably should not be using the word ain't. Maybe you're trying to connect with a younger demographic, but it ain't working, sweetheart. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running because you all are lying, she said. Oh my goodness. You're not ready for a woman. You are not. I mean, it's just insufferable nonsense. So don't waste my time, she says. We've got a list of growing up to do, and there's still, and sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman, and we saw it. No, I'm sorry, Big Mike Obama. The reason why Kamala Harris lost is because she was a GD effing idiot, and she could not keep her nose out of the bottom of a wine glass. That wino couldn't even string together a full sentence before she would start cackling to the point of uncomfortability, and people were absolutely embarrassed that this woman has won the Democrat nomination against Donald Trump in the last election cycle. That's the reason why. It wasn't because people were not ready for a woman. People are ready for a woman. They just don't want a drunk to be putting their fingers on the big red button that includes launching nuclear weapons. Now, I'm not going to say this either. I'm not going to say I feel very comfortable with Donald Trump over there. But I did hear this anecdotal story, which like I said, when you're dealing with anecdotal evidence, it's, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I heard this story today that, now this is rumor stuff. So you got to take this with a grain of salt. Don't take this to the bank. And I'm not saying I believe it one way or another, but I will say this. I will lean in the direction of belief more than doubt. Okay, so take from it what you will. This whole strike against Iran. Remember that? Trump attacked Iran not so long ago. This whole strike against it. Apparently, there's a backstory to it. It wasn't just, oh, Iran can't get nuclear weapons. No. Mustn't be able to do that. The backstory was that Netanyahu threatened to use nuclear weapons against Iran. And if the United States did not do something, if the United States didn't attack Iran, Israel would then use their nuclear weapons. So that is a huge deal if that is true. Because one, it says that America is not in control. Two, it says that Israel, despite the fact that it denies it from here to kingdom come, does in fact have nuclear weapons, and they will be more than happy to use them. So, like I said, grain of salt stuff, take from it what you will. But like I said, I will lean closer in the direction of saying that is probably true. more than not. And now I want to get to something here, as if I haven't been getting to things before. There has been this rumor all over X, and people are just going absolutely bananas for it. That, oh my gosh, and I fell for it too. I did a show on it before I decided to check it, which is why you're not listening to Greg. You're listening to Chris Michaels. So I am not afraid to admit that I get things wrong sometimes. So this whole notion that X has suddenly disabled the translations of Hebrew posts. Okay, I thought this was very odd. Oh, we got, hold on a second before we continue. Lemons is chiming in. Lemons, question about our power grid capacity. If AI is in fact another stock bubble waiting to pop, which I believe it is, I tend to fall into that category. Should we still worry if said alleged bubble pops? I would say no. I wouldn't worry about it. What you're going to see when this bubble pops, if it does in fact pop, although you had Peter Thiel, I think, selling 100% of his NVIDIA stock. This bubble, when it pops, really what it's going to do is that it's going to realign who the AI power players are. It turns out that NVIDIA is supposedly, basically circling its revenue. They give $10 billion to a company, and then that said AI company uses NVIDIA chips, and they make a purchase for $10 billion of NVIDIA chips. So it's this big circle that goes around and around and around. I don't think that any of these companies are actually going to go under. You may, if there is a pop and if there is a slight crash, you may be able to pick up some of these companies on the cheap. But remember the big, beautiful bill. It says that once AI is put into any kind of government agency or structure, it can't be touched for 10 years. So this isn't going anywhere. All it is a realignment of where the money is going to go. And Lemons also commented, Michelle Obama, I assume he means. Do you mean Michael? Yes, I do. I mean Big Mike Obama. If you look at that Ellen clip when Big Mike was dancing about, I felt very inferior to the stature of Michelle Obama. And I also think that we're on to something. Take a look at any of the clips that we saw from Joan Rivers before her unfortunate demise. Comedian Joan Rivers, she was brilliant. And then Lemons also said, what do you believe will happen with the extra energy we produce if we start these power plants up before the potential crash? Well, the thing is that all of these power plants are going to be started up after 2027, right? It takes years to get these things back up online after they've been mothballed. So there could be a crash before then. And then what happens is that, oh my goodness, we went through a year of the doldrums. A year and a half, 2 years, but thank goodness we are coming out of it. And what happens? 2007 or 2027, as this latest power plant is going to be fired up and ready to go. My goodness, the economic crisis is now over. We can get it all back up, and the economy is just going to be booming. And at that point, you've also got the realignment of the AI companies. The extra energy, Tim Pool actually did something interesting about this. He traced the amount of power going through Nova and the Mid-Atlantic region. So Nova being Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and all the rest. Tim Pool asked artificial intelligence, I think I brought it up last week or the week before, where all of this energy being generated is going, because the average population, they're not using this much energy. He traced it to basically the federal government. And when you try to find out what this energy is being used for, the federal government basically says, well, national security secrets, so you can't find out about it. Sorry. So once again, I think this is just the federal government having something in store, or maybe a government contractor, and they need more energy, and they're basically hanging us out to dry. And so they're going to use this additional energy for whatever kind of nonsense they've got in store for us. So it will not go to waste. It just won't go to us. And that's what I think is really going to happen. So going back to what I was talking about, for a desperate, did the wrong thing here. Let's try to share our screens once more. Here we go. Going back to the Hebrew translations over on X, everybody is up in arms. Red Pill Media decided to post this. X disables Hebrew translation to prevent spread of inflammatory content. Hebrew posts to avoid inaccurate renditions that amplify potentially harmful content to global audiences, as confirmed by the AI chatbot Grok on 11/17. The decision addresses a surge in Hebrew language hate speech since the Israel-Gaza conflict began in October of 23, with reports documenting over 19,000 instances of violent incitement. No similar restrictions apply to Arabic or other languages. Now, take this for what you will, because this is not entirely true. Okay, so the reason why I say it's not entirely true is that Grok is basically running in the background constantly, and it is confirming that X is reducing the visibility of posts made in Hebrew. However, your intrepid host decided to put this to test, and this is not true. You can find people that make posts in Hebrew, and it will translate. Now, the way it translates and how you go about doing it can be a little bit lengthy because X doesn't make it easy. There are cases where you have to click onto the profile of the person making the post. Then you have to translate the profile, and then the post will be translated. Okay. The other issue is that you can look for specific words on X, and you can type in the Hebrew translation of said word, like, I don't know, Gaza, Palestine, kill, our land, and so on and so forth, right? The problem with the search feature, even though you say that you want the latest posts using those words, it doesn't give you the latest posts. I dug up things from 2018 under the guise that it's the latest post looking for a specific word. So X and Grok is being extremely loosey-goosey with their new concept of not translating Hebrew in the most ready of fashions. Because let's be honest here, we've seen a lot of debaucherous posts, and those posts are in fact in Hebrew. And these posts, furthermore, they violate the terms and conditions of X itself. Technically, posts like these should, in fact, violate the terms and conditions of Yosef G. Blah and have this account completely kicked. So he wrote it in Hebrew, and I'll translate. Oh, I didn't translate it. I'll read it to you. May all the babies in Gaza die within a minute, God willing, with their parents and grandmothers around them. Once again, now, this is not a glittering jewel of democracy in the Middle East, America's greatest ally. This does not say, hey, support America. This, in fact, says that we want to commit genocide and ethnic cleansing, and we don't really give a damn. And because most people don't read Hebrew, we think we could be safe by posting shit like this. But you also have to consider the following, that many of these posts probably are coming from bots and accounts that don't necessarily have a lot of influence or followers. The fact remains this: X is doing something, and it is not being very transparent with the policy violations that are occurring on X for people that do, in fact, post in Hebrew. So you've got to be aware of it. It's obviously All of this stuff, especially when you're talking about Israel firsters, you've got to realize that many companies are in fact compromised. Like, oh, I don't know, things like Google and many other search engines. Here we have this gem. We've got who do we have here? Former Obama speechwriter Sarah Hurwitz. She's griping and moaning to the Jewish Federation that people are finding content from Al Jazeera and Nick Fuentes on social media and seeing videos of the carnage in Gaza. Holocaust education has backfired, in part, as people see Palestinians as Jewish victims. And she also says they think the lesson of the Holocaust is that you fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people. No, that's not the lesson of the Holocaust. That is basic human nature. The average human does not want to see a bully. They do not like bullies. They want to make sure that everybody minds their own effing business and nobody dies. Basic human nature is we want everybody to live. We want everybody to be able to raise a family and just go on minding their own business and getting along with one another. Maybe you don't have to like the person, but at least you don't be rude. And here is this idiot saying that, oh my goodness, the lesson of the Holocaust is that you're supposed to stand up to bully. I mean, the amount of gaslighting this woman did is just utterly nauseating. And unfortunately, we're probably going to see a lot more of it until the midterms come barreling down the pipe. Okay, so Epstein. We've got Jeffrey Epstein. People were threatening Jeffrey Epstein files coming out. And my goodness gracious, this is it. We're going to finally get the truth. And my humble opinion is don't hold your effing breath, because I don't believe any of it is actually going to happen. Bear in mind also, the Democrats have had these files. They've known things for quite some time, for literally years. And then all of a sudden, as the midterm elections come up, we need to release all of the files to get everything out in the open to go and attack Donald Trump. Now, what the Democrats are going to try and do, actually both sides, I should say, what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and censor whatever releases they have in such a way that it implicates the other party. Donald Trump, for what it's worth, is probably going to try and censor his name out of any documents that ultimately try to come out. The Democrats are going to try to censor portions of the document to get you to believe that the portions that are being censored include Donald Trump, when in fact, the names that the Democrats want censored are actually Democrats. Okay, so both sides are going to play this stupid game. Keep in mind also, we had the Epstein Files. We ran on releasing the Epstein Files. Donald Trump released the Epstein Files. And we need accountability. We want everybody in jail for committing COVID crimes, vaccine mandate crimes, violating your civil rights, your human rights, your constitutional rights during COVID. We want accountability for people who started up Ukraine Gate, Russia Gate. We want accountability for all of the devil may care attitudes that went to little Jeffrey Epstein's islands, Little St. James. Nobody talks about Great St. James. I think it's something to look into. His other island. Nobody talks about the ranch so much anymore. His eugenics laboratory. Another little portion of Jeffrey Epstein's empire that should get scrutinized. So now we've got this bill that was passed. 4,000 members of the House said, yes, release all of the Epstein files that, according to Donald Trump, no longer exist. They never existed. It was all a Democrat hoax. Okay. Nobody's buying that shit. But now Donald Trump posts everywhere that release all of the files. Well, how can you release the files that don't exist, number one. But if they do exist, they're a hoax, and it's a Democrat hoax, right? Then Donald Trump tries to steer the narrative in another direction, saying that Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, all these Democrat bigwigs, they hung out with Jeffrey Epstein every single day of the week and slept over his house on weekends, and they had pillow talk and ate crackers in bed. So we need to start investigating those people before you start knocking at my door with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, here's the big problem about why we won't see anything at all. Go back to 2009, 2010. Jeffrey Epstein caught doing icky things. Pam Bondi over in Florida. She's part of the case. Jeffrey Epstein flees to Israel, says, I ain't coming back until we get some kind of settlement going. Jeffrey Epstein hires people like Alan Dershowitz. They get a sweetheart settlement saying that me, Jeffrey Epstein, anyone associated with me, we all get off scot-free. Nobody can touch us for any past crimes or future crimes. So there you go. It's done right there. But let's take the argument we're going to release all of the Epstein files and let the chips fall where they may. Well, the big problem that we're suddenly seeing here is that in this legislation, there is a little caveat. You can't release the files if it would jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution, provided that such withholding is narrowly tailored and temporary. Oh, my goodness. Also, if the Attorney General makes a determination, Pam Bondi or anybody else, that covered information may not be declassified and made available in a manner that protects the national security of the United States, including methods or sources related to national security. This is why it's not going to go anywhere, because you've got losers like Pam Bondi in power. You've got cuckolds like Donald Trump in power that are clearly being blackmailed at this point. Okay? There is some kind of material in the background because old Donald Trump 1.0, he would have said, F everybody, we are releasing this. But now we've got something completely different. Now we've got the idea that, oh my goodness, there could be a case going on that involves Jeffrey Epstein's estate. And it's ongoing. I mean, we've got some Epstein victims and we've got to protect them because we could be prosecuting them. So we can't release this file or that file. And then here we go. Oh, if it could jeopardize national security of the U.S. or methods or sources related to national security, we can't release those files either, or at least we'll just redact, 50,000 out of 51,000 pages of Epstein documents. So right then and there, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm sorry. The only thing that's going to come out is red meat for the voting masses for the upcoming midterm elections. And both sides will do it. Both sides see this as an opportunity to go after the other. Both wings of the same decrepit eagle. Now, take it one step further. Oh my goodness, we've got to protect national security, including methods or sources related to national security. We all know that the Trump administration is completely beholden to Netanyahu and Israel. It is now basic thought that any threat to Israel is part of the U.S. national security apparatus. By default, we all know that Mr. Epstein, along with Ghislaine Maxwell, were at least double agents, possibly triple agents working for intelligence, working for the Mossad. I mean, I dare say this. I mean, it certainly looks that way. I've got no evidence to prove otherwise. But I would probably have a safe bet by saying Mr. Epstein worked for Mossad along with Miss Maxwell. So this means that if they're working for an intelligence agency, guess what? We can't release those files because it risks national security. Do you understand why this is not going anywhere? Everybody is out there on the left saying that, oh my goodness, Epstein, he's going to come out, or these files are going to come out, and Donald Trump is clearly going to be manipulating the files, changing the files, just going through all kinds of evidence, and wrong, wrong. Donald Trump would not do any of that because he doesn't have to. He can use the same tricks and ploys that the Democrats use. He could censor the documents. The documents could go miraculously missing. Anything that implicates Donald Trump could end up in a CIA safe where it will never be found for a couple of days. Or it could end up in a burned bag, like we found out that happened under Biden, and actually get burned to destroy any kind of documents of a sensitive nature. This won't go anywhere. It will never go anywhere, especially if it's proven that Jeffrey Epstein was working for the Mossad. It's never going to go anywhere. I'm sorry, MAGA, but it's not. The influencers out there, the Laura Loomers, the Mark Levins, the Buck and Clay, they don't want you to know that MAGA has been hijacked. They want you to believe that MAGA is MEGA. Make Israel great again. And when one of Israel's top blackmailing agents has all kinds of paper trails that lead to the hyper elite across all spectrums of society, where this individual believes in eugenics. One email came out talking about how they should genetically modify black people because they aren't as intelligent. Yes, that email came out. Let me see if I can find it before I get in trouble for even mentioning the damn thing. When you've got this kind of person now being revealed in some slightly different way. Yes, I do have it. They're never going to trace it back to the people giving this administration the millions of dollars. You're never going to get accountability. This is where I'll leave it too. AF Post, in a leaked email, Jeffrey Epstein discusses genetically engineering black people to make them smarter and discussing how whites had evolutionary pressures that rewarded long-term thinking over rapid muscle development. How embarrassing would it be to the narrative on the Democrat side that one of the major funders of Democrat politicians believes that one of the major voting blocs of the Democrat Party are mentally inferior and they need to be genetically modified to get on the same level as the Democrat Party white leadership? Do you see what they're trying to do? Do you see how both sides are going to use the Epstein emails as red meat in gearing up for the midterm elections? Do you think any accountability will come of this? The answer is no. None of it. None of this will go anywhere because both sides are absolutely eyeball deep in this degeneracy. That's where I'll leave it. 40 minutes on the dot. How about that? I hit the post. Lemon's final comment. I wish we could get the lists, but if not one single person would release a large amount of documents that jeopardizes their reputation and could potentially get a large country's population to revolt against you, Why would an entire government do so? You mean the Epstein list? Why wouldn't anybody get the Epstein list? We already basically have the Epstein list. It's been out for quite some time. It's been out for years. But the problem is that nobody wants to believe that the address book is the Epstein list. I mean, I've had it for years. Greg has had the records for years about the people that visited, how to get them, messages that were left. It's a big PDF. You can go through it. But the problem is that you do not have a Department of Justice that is willing to do the justice. All of these people are compromised. Greg and I worked it out in, I think, during COVID or during the last election, or the 2020 election. How much money would you need to bribe all of these federal judges or their spouses to go in a certain direction, to rule in a certain way? It's not a lot. It's not a lot at all, especially when you factor in the amount of federal judges that could be involved in something like an Epstein. So you got to also factor in that people are motivated for cash. And so they're more than happy to take a bribe, directly or indirectly. And I always say this, you've got to look at the spouses. You've got to look at the family members. Case in point, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the brother Biden, whatever Joe Biden's brother is, Joseph Biden, I think his name is. Hunter Biden, Joseph Biden, not Joseph. I can't remember the guy's name. Whatever. A-hole Biden. They're the ones that are doing the deal. Joseph Biden is just the name behind it. Lemons. Wait, so that's the list everyone's been talking about? I believe so. It's not the official list. There is an Epstein list, right? But you don't need the Epstein list, right? You don't need something from the government that says, yes, this is the official list and we're going to release it. You'll never get that. You don't need it, though. You've already got the list in your hands. You've already seen who's on the flight logs. That's the list. Now, there could be other people lurking in the background somewhere that not necessarily on those flight logs. But it gives you enough of a picture to understand the type of clientele that Jeffrey Epstein had. And then you also had this headline that Bill and Hillary Clinton are pleading the fifth. They're not going to cooperate with any kind of investigations going on with Jeffrey Epstein. Why would that be the case? Well, they're clearly involved with Mr. Epstein. They're clearly involved with the intelligence agencies in some capacity, and they don't want to talk about it. So there you go. I mean, anything that you see on Capitol Hill, especially if it's televised, it's all nonsense anyway. You're never going to get a real answer. Nobody's going to come out and say, yes, I was on Epstein Island. Yes, there were children there. And yes, we did commit Luciferian type sacrifices. They're never going to say that, right? The only time you're going to get a true answer is if there's some kind of settlement in place and it's behind closed doors, and then everybody just walks away scot-free. So there you go. That's my humble opinion. Chris Michaels looking at current events and the Epstein list with a jaundiced eye. I do not believe it'll go anywhere. I'm sorry to tell people this, but the way the first year of Trump's administration has been going does not leave me with a warm and fuzzy feeling. So yes, I am a curmudgeon. I'm unhappy. I've got burr in my saddle. I'm ornery, and I'll continue to be so until things change. It's the Chris Michaels Show, and as always, I will see you next Tuesday.